The Business of Art, brought to you by the Video Department. Welcome to the Business of Art podcast. My name is Matt Polson, your host. We are here with the talented Foley Shenk.
I do what I can. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. We were just talking about how you are the fourth interview we've done for this podcast, and 4 is your lucky number.
It is my lucky number. I don't really know why. It just kind of is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with your birthday or anything like that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's just start with how we met.
Yeah. So, I'm in a band, Weekender, as you know, and we were looking to do some video shoots because it had been a really long time since we had any video out there. So a friend, I put out an APB on Facebook, and you get recommendations from folks and you don't know if those folks are like actually professional or just some dude with a camera who...
The Facebook game is a crapshoot.
who has a videography business.
Yeah.
So, but then a friend from church, Rick, he recommended you. And Rick is solid human. So I figured if he had a recommendation, that it was one to pursue.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That was when I reached out to you with nebulous ideas about what we needed and wanted. And
yeah, and we filmed at, we did 2 shoots. The first one was at Reveler.
Yep.
Which, do we have an update on the columns?
No, they're still there.
Okay, they're still there.
We have a show there again in May.
Yeah.
Kind of hoping they'll be gone by then.
Yeah.
But,
It is what it is. A great space.
Oh, yeah.
Really dynamic. It's hard to define.
It is. It is. When I've had to explain it to folks, I'm just, it's kind of a right-brained explosion of art and color and all sorts of fun stuff. But then it's nice to have a dedicated music space where people get tables and are there to listen to you.
Yeah.
As opposed to just kind of being background music, which sometimes is okay.
Well, and it seems like the space almost functions as you can kind of have both. Like there are some tucked away spaces where you obviously are still going to hear the live band.
Yes.
But you can probably have comfortable conversation without having to shout. Whereas, like you said, there's dedicated space for people who just want to sit and listen.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is ideal.
Yeah, it really is.
And so then we filmed over at Space Bomb Studio.
Yeah.
So where did that connection come from?
So I had heard about Space Bomb years ago just through the Richmond music grapevine. Okay. And we recently released an EP. And when we went to record it, we were kind of, playing around with ideas of where we would record and looked into Space Bomb. I can't even remember for what. I mean, I knew they had a good reputation, but I don't remember what in particular for that. And so we decided to record there, and we just loved the experience from top to bottom. Yeah. Alex and John are the sound engineers there, and we felt like we had a good vibe. We liked the vibe of the place. Yeah. We had a really positive experience there. Kind of felt like, okay, this is our recording home. Cool. From then on. And the aesthetic of the place is kind of cool. Very cool. I had the thought, maybe we should shoot a video there. Yeah. So that was really cool.
Check out the videos on the Weekenders. You guys have them up on your YouTube page?
We do. Our somewhat neglected YouTube page. Yeah. Mostly through funnel it through Facebook and Instagram and things like that. But yeah, the goal is to beef up the YouTube page a little bit.
Well, it's so funny because I heard a statistic recently that YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. And yet I feel like it is often overlooked in terms of, because it's also a social media platform.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I feel like it's often overlooked as that part of it.
Yeah. I have 3 kids and they don't really watch TV anymore per se. They watch YouTube. Yeah. They have channels that they love and they're telling me about how to post. Mom, you got to post shorts and during this time. I'm like, this is beyond me.
What are they watching?
They watch, one is really into like nutrition and they watch ones about like skateboarding and some music stuff, but kind of a little bit of everything. Yeah.
That's so funny. I love that.
Yeah, it like that's their TV.
Yeah, no,
truly.
I know for sure. I mean, we still watch traditional TV for sure, but it more like by appointment.
Yeah.
We do like we have a digital antenna.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And which is like the best $40 you'll ever spend in your life.
Absolutely.
And so we won't be able to tonight because she has ASL class, but every other Wednesday night at 8 p.m. we're watching Survivor.
Well,
Live.
on season like 439.
I think it's 47.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm waiting for 50 because I'm expecting them to do my favorite, which is like a All-Stars season.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, and they
Very
have not
cool.
done it in the new era, the post-COVID era, because they shortened the time span that they're on the island during the COVID era. So I went from like, I think 39 days was what it was originally, to now it's like 27, I think, or something like that.
That's still about 26 days too long for me.
I could deal with everything but the bugs.
I'm an indoorsy kind of gal, so it's not really my thing. Yeah.
So let's talk. So Allie and I are going to get to know each other a little bit during this podcast, which is very exciting. And you said that you're an editor. Talk to me about your work as an editor.
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with what I went to school for. I do a little bit of different content, but primarily a medical editor, medical science sort of stuff. Not anything I went to school for. Kind of fell into it. I have like 3 kids, like I was saying, and when they're 41 months apart from start to finish. So I had babies, and I was looking for something to do from home. I was a jewelry designer. I've done a lot of random stuff. And that wasn't working out too well in terms of being able to like get out to boutiques and stuff. So I decided to pivot, because that's the buzzword these days, right? Pivot.
Hashtag pivot.
And I had a friend who reached out to me from high school. She was doing some medical editing and was like, "Hey, Al, I remember you were good at, grammar and you liked science. Like, can I train you how to do this?" And I was like, I could work from home. This works. And so I just started out, really slowly, 5-10 hours a week, and worked up to that. And I love it. And I work from home, super helpful for me with like the kids and just weirdo music schedules and all sorts of stuff that, that really works well for me. I can take a break in the middle of the day and go mess around on my guitar for a little while, or
do a podcast.
Yeah, do a podcast. Exactly. So that's where I'm at. I enjoy it a lot. But it's funny because that's like medical science, and then I have music, which is the other side of things, but the balance is like exactly what I need.
Yeah. No, and I definitely want to dig into the music more, but I'm just curious more about the actual work of what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Just can you explain a little bit more about what the job actually is like?
No, it is a little mysterious. Usually when I tell people I'm a medical editor, that seals the conversation. They're like, "Oh, okay, I don't know what that is." So I'm just
because my mom was a medical transcriber.
Yes.
The doctor would do the notes and she would type it out and stuff like that.
People often think it is that.
Yeah.
It is in fact not that.
I assumed it was not.
So I mean, I've worked on a lot of different materials. So everything from what we call patient-facing materials to educate people about their health, any conditions or issues they might have, to be able, especially to empower people to have informed conversations with their healthcare provider. So we do that. I do that. I do some continuing medical education work, and that might be everything from, PDF reports to PowerPoint slides to written presentations. I've worked in, healthcare advocacy, a lot of kind of one-off projects here and there. I've worked for medical and scientific journals, editing that.
And the company that you work for, what is the company?
Is Allie. I'm self-employed
Noticing
for
a
right
theme
now.
here.
Yeah, I know. I don't mean to brag, but I'm a very fair boss. I'm very kind to my employee, and I just like working for myself.
Okay.
I was freelance for a good while. Then I worked with an agency. they have their pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
But all in all, I enjoy being freelance.
Nice.
So I'm kind of picking up work here and there. I do some stuff that's not medical. Like I do some editing for materials that the Contemporary Art Museum at VCU puts out. I've done a lot of dissertations lately that have nothing to do with medical anything.
Yeah.
'Tis the season for oral defenses and written publications. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so what about your musicality? Let's take me back. When did you first? Yeah, let's break out in the song. I can't do anything with copyright. So.
Oh yeah. Or
so
longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what it is when you're singing it.
Actually, one time Facebook flagged me for a copyright violation for a song that I posted from our band.
Yeah.
I'm one of the writers.
That's funny. Did you get like hit or anything?
They took the post down.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't put me in jail or any Facebook jail, but they took my post down. I thought it was honestly humorous at that point.
I just got hit with, and it's the first time ever with one for a play basically that I filmed, and they had some soundtrack during the play, and there's a few Kings of Leon songs, and I just didn't even think about it when I went on YouTube.
I would not have thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hour-and-a-half long play, so it was just like I was just uploading it, wasn't thinking about each moment in the play. And
right. Get the whole chunk up there. Oh well.
So take me back to when you started music.
So, I mean, I don't come from a family of musicians per se, but I come from a family that has always loved music, lots of music. My parents both played guitar, just like for fun, not like for a band or anything. They both play guitar. My mom doesn't play anymore. My dad still plays, and he'd play harmonica, and he'd pick up the banjo and just kind of play around with instruments, which when I think about it is really cool, like because it's a nice approach to music, at least to get started for folks. But I remember being 4 years old, and I was in church, and this huge, big, sanctuary, like all the reverb. And I saw a woman play the flute, and I was like, I want to play that one day. Fast forward to my older years in fourth grade, which
is my wife's favorite year of her life, she says.
Dude, fourth grade was baller.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
I know. I did really well in the geography bee. I just wanted to put that out there.
Very good.
But anyway, it came time to pick an instrument, and I wanted to play the flute. So I just started off in your good old props to public music education. That's where it all started for me.
Where? What?
So, in Greenwich, Connecticut, at Glenville Elementary School. Yeah, very much so. That's why I'm trying to talk at a reasonable pace instead of my usual like, oh my gosh, and then blah, blah, blah.
And I imagine there probably wasn't, don't take this the wrong way, but there probably wasn't a lot of competition for who was going to do the flute.
Well, there was, I mean, a lot of people want to play the flute.
Yeah.
Kind of like violin, kind of the more popular instruments. Nobody's like, usually like, I want to play the bassoon
or the
immediately.
Oboe or something like that. Yeah.
Or the euphonium.
Right.
So, I mean,
maybe flute is then more popular.
There was a lot of flute. And I grew up right outside New York City. So actually the competition was intense. Sure. But I really quickly loved the flute. I enjoyed playing. I wanted to play as much as I can. My parents never, ever had to like beg me to practice or anything. I just loved it. And turned out I was kind of good at it. Yeah. So that was fun. And
that helps when you're learning something for sure.
For sure. It's like, oh, hey. And so at some point I made like, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm really just reporting details. It's like, I'd make like all county band and all state band and all New England band. And then I started playing concertos, which for anyone who doesn't know, a concerto is when there is a solo artist of some kind, either a singer or an instrumentalist, and you play usually with a whole orchestra accompanying you. And that is fun because you get to wear fancy clothes and play a really fun piece, and it's fun.
Now I think you're bragging.
Yeah, I am. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, the fancy clothes.
It was up until the clothes. I was like, okay, this is very humble. And then he said to me, he says,
Nope. And my parents drove me into New York City every week to take flute lessons with a teacher I ended up there with. And he got me lessons with all these folks in New York that, like, you need connections to even take a lesson with them. And had an offer to leave high school early to go study at a conservatory. And it was all very exciting, very fun. But I realized really quickly that I don't want to do that. And not because I didn't think I could hack it, but because the intensity and the competition is so intense. Like, I just felt like if I continue on this path, I'm going to resent music. I'm going to not like music anymore. And that would be wicked sad.
Yeah.
So I kind of stepped away for a little while I guess it was the beginning of college. I went to Boston College, and they weren't, like, renowned for their music program. Okay. Fantastic.
Allison went to Emerson.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, yes, I know.
Talk about that.
A friend who went to Emerson. And so...
You didn't do music at Boston College?
Not really, yeah.
Just for fun?
Just for... barely even. And so then at some point, when I came... Well, we were in Boston at this point. That's where I met my husband, and then we stayed there for a while. I eventually started playing flute a little bit here and there, or I'd play at people's weddings, you know, that sort of thing. And then when we moved to Richmond, well, we moved to Charlottesville first, but then when we moved to Richmond, an opportunity came up to play in the church we go to here, and kind of things went from there. Kind of everything
same church came. We met Rick?
Yeah. And Jim, our lead singer and weekender, he was playing. We were both playing on the worship band at the church. And, you know, one day he was like, do you want to just start another band on the side and we'll just play, like, whatever? And it's like, sure, yeah. And so then any other instrument I've picked up since flute. Okay, I did play saxophone for a little bit. I didn't like it. But any instrument I've played since flute, I picked up in my 30s, and I've just really enjoyed playing around, literally, with all sorts of stuff. Kind of that approach my dad had with you know, kind of picking up an instrument and playing around and see how you feel about it. You know. Yeah.
Do you like I'm sure you do read music.
I do.
But do you use it today? Like, are you guys doing charts and stuff like that with Weekender?
So, because I was classically trained and played, like, all the Mozart and all the Bach, and that sheet music was my go-to.
Yeah.
And so, if anything, getting off sheet music has been the challenge for me. And I still use it from time to time. Like, we're playing a Wilco cover, and I can't quite figure out what those notes are. I might try to find the sheet music online. Sure. But generally kind of getting away from that. Like, improv is very scary to me. Yeah. We mostly use chord charts for Weekender, but I will, like, I guess similarly with bass, if there's a bass part I hear, I might go on and find a tab. But I mean, yeah. So in other words, yeah, weaning myself off sheet music.
Sure.
Not like it's a bad thing.
No, but I would imagine, and I'm sure most bands that are, you know, in the rock genre aren't doing full sheet music for their stuff. It's a feel thing. It
is. And I've even played with folks who don't read music, like, at all.
Yeah.
They pick everything up by ear, and that is a skill that I am trying to develop. Yeah.
I was like that my entire musical theater career. It's a little bit different, obviously, because it's singing, but
yeah.
It's it can definitely be a handicap.
Yeah.
But it's not any type of handicap that you can't overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really just kind of training a new area of your brain to, like, it was like, speaking of YouTube, I was, like, going on YouTube trying to find videos of, like, how to start with improv. Like, how to get going on getting your brain in that mode and not just feeling like you have to be glued to a sheet of music.
Have you ever done any, like, improv classes or anything, like performance?
Theater when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I I never liked improv.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's like, I didn't hate it, but it just felt like, could you just give me a script and I'll knock it out of the park. But yeah.
Do you know Richmond Comedy Coalition?
No.
Give a shout out to them.
Okay.
They are downtown. They have their own space. It's kind of near Quirk.
Oh yeah.
On Broad Street.
Sure.
Great improv company. They do a lot of classes and education stuff like that, but good people. Just a little shout out for them. Let's go back to your decision. You get into conservatory.
Yep.
How much of a struggle was that internally about what you were going to do? How did you come to the realization that it wasn't for you?
Yeah. The idea sounded really cool. Was all about that. I had gone to, like, one summer when I was 15, I think, I went to Boston University, has Tanglewood Institute out in the Berkshires in Massachusetts, and I got into a program there, and I went there. And so I thought maybe I could, just in case I decide I don't want to do music, what am I going to do? And so I thought maybe I'd go to Boston University or somewhere that had a really strong music program, but also had plenty else to do, like academically. And then honestly, I was kind of going in that direction, and then literally ended up going to Boston College because my parents said, while we're here, do you want to go check out Boston College? It's right nearby. And I'm like, I guess. And then I just fell in love with it. But it was kind of all going in the same direction of I just had this feeling that I was going to hate music. And that thought made me so sad. So
you never considered it as a profession?
No, I definitely did. Yeah, but in the end, yeah.
What would that have looked like if you had chosen that route?
That's a great question. I don't really know. I think it would have involved more concertos if I could snag them. Probably playing in a symphony or something, or I really like chamber groups too. I played at one point in a trio, me, an oboe, and a cello, and that was fun. So I thought maybe I would do something like that, or I wasn't sure. I didn't want to give lessons. I did give some flute lessons. I even ran a flute choir out of my parents' camp out of my parents' house. But I don't really like teaching music. I used to be a teacher. I like music. I don't really like teaching music.
Okay, interesting.
So,
yeah. What'd you teach?
I ended up teaching pre-K and kindergarten.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see you being good with the little ones like
They're
that.
fun. Yeah. And I taught a preschool music class, and that was a boatload of fun.
Okay. I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were going to say it was bad.
Oh, no. No, it was super cool. No, you can get away with stuff like, we're going to listen, speaking of Mozart, we're going to listen to Mozart, and I'm going to put out a massive piece of butcher paper. And here are crayons and markers and stickers, and just listen to the music and do what you feel like the music is telling you to do.
Yeah.
You get to lots of exploration. I'm all about exploration with music. As much as I say that,
like
and
you're
then
a music teacher at
yeah,
heart.
I know. No,
You're talking like
no. I think if I did it ever again, it would be for littles again. But I just like the idea of exploration because I don't think art can be forced. And so I like the idea of coming at it through your own discovery.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you write the music for Weekender?
So when Jim and I first started, we were a duo, and then we added Adam on drums, and so we weren't a duo for a whole long. We were a trio. Adam doesn't write music, and so Jim and I were kind of we started off with all cover songs, and then Jim had some music he'd written a little years ago, and then the songwriting we did in the beginning we mostly did together, but Jim can get a song and he can sit down and spend a lot of time going through it. I'm one of those things where I'm trying to get to bed at midnight and all of a sudden I get an idea for a song and I run downstairs to my studio and I like sing it into my phone, like a voice memo. Oh, sorry, a voice memo for later.
It's a fun little effect.
Yeah. Woo. So that it kind of hits me.
Yeah.
And so at some point I would get an idea for a song here and there, but really in the past probably 2 years, Jim has done 95% of the writing, probably, and he's just pumping them out.
Yeah.
He's just got all the ideas, and so that's been really fun to crank out a bunch of
How long have y'all been performing together?
Jim and I started as a duo in 2016, which apparently was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I know. That's wild.
And then we were a trio pretty quickly after that. And that was really kind of when we sort of solidified more as a band and not just like, we'll go pick up a gig.
Right.
You know, a wallpaper gig, we call them. You're just like there.
Yeah.
Yeah, as part of the ambient phenomena and not, you know, for people to listen stuff. So, so that was, late 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll stay pretty busy?
Yeah. I mean, originally, like, we all have day jobs.
Yeah.
And, like, most of us have kids. And we have different work schedules and all the rest of it. So originally we thought, okay, we'll just play once a month. And we did that for a long time.
Mm-hmm. You mean like gig once a month?
Yeah, sorry, gig once a month, practicing pretty much every week.
Yeah.
And so now where we're at, again, still, you know, day jobs and the rest of it. So I would say we play maybe, kind of aim for maybe twice a month, play out somewhere. And then if something else comes along, like April, we have 3 shows because something else came up that we didn't want to turn down or... so yeah, that for us 2 weeks comes up pretty quickly, you know, or if you're playing back-to-back weekends. Yeah.
And so how do you acquire these gigs? Like, how are you booking all of them?
Yeah. So when I'm a big fan of networking and knowing folks in your, you know, whatever. Well, I was going to say, community for sure. So I started getting to know folks in the Richmond area who were involved in music and ask them like, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing? Literally just get names of places. Cause not only was I not familiar with Richmond, I wasn't familiar with specifically the Richmond music scene. However, Jim had lived in Virginia for a long time. So he did know of some spots like we should look there. So it was a lot of just cold emails to places, which is really annoying. Some people answer you back. A lot don't.
Cold calls and cold emails have actually been a theme in this podcast for sure.
Really?
In a lot of different ways, yeah. Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's simultaneously terrifying and whatever. Because if you reach... It is kind of terrifying to put yourself out there. Hi, I'm this random person you don't know from anything, but... this is why you should want to work with me.
And it's made worse because people get so much spam, cold email that looks like real email that you really have to like use your brain power to sort of siphon through.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure for a lot of people, it's just like, oh, I don't know you immediately.
Oh,
delete.
yeah. Yeah.
Which is fair. I do that too
yeah,
sometimes.
No, I hear you. We do that sometimes with music stuff that will come up, but...
I'm sure. With all sorts of weird ass.
Super weird stuff. So, but on the other end, it doesn't feel that badly because if somebody rejects you, they don't even know you. Yeah. So it's true. Not necessarily personal. Yeah. Or who knows why they don't, you know. So we, you know, our goal, we would play somewhere and our goal was to be asked back. And so we developed a group of places that we would play based on that. And then it just kind of grew from there. And now I would say we're probably like 60-40 people who approach us versus us reaching out. Mm-hmm. So that's nice. That takes care of some of it because I'm the booking person. Okay. They call me the band mom.
Good to know. And very good.
I am the booking person. So there's only so much I can do, you know, and we don't have an agent.
Yeah. And you're not, you You're not doing it for the money.
I don't know how anyone does.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that's certainly a big part of them. That is a big water bottle we got there. That's amazing.
It's very important to stay hydrated.
Yeah, Zulu.
Yep.
You got the power of the Zulu there.
I do what I can.
How many of those do you do in a day?
I just try to get through that. It's half a gallon. Yeah.
The name of the podcast is The Business of Art, and so that is the primary thing that I'm interested in exploring with people is how do you navigate being a professional in the thing that you're passionate about. And I think artists specifically across the board, it is the hardest thing to plan for. It's the hardest thing to have a clear path for.
Yep.
I think that it's a blessing that you were wise enough at a young age to know that it can create a toxicity with your relationship with your passion.
Yeah, and I imagine that happens to folks who are doing it full time sometime. Yeah,
that is another genesis of this podcast is my relationship with theater and how when it all sort of went away during the dark times of 2020 and 2021, all of us who were heavily involved with that, at least on a semi-professional level, pretty much lost everything.
Yeah.
And and if you can hear, it's thundering. Whoa, that was a big one. I was thinking about it earlier while you were talking, and everything right now is battery powered except for that light. So we will, if the power goes out, we'll still be able to record. We'll just be a little bit darker.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
We'll save it for the Halloween episode.
The shadow of the business of art.
That is
the dark episode.
That should be our sub theme.
I like it.
The shadow life. But yeah, I've said it a couple times on the podcast already, but I've had an on and off relationship with it where I was sort of pursuing it as at least a piece of my career to where I wasn't at all. And right before everything went down in the dark times, I was on the upswing again of pursuing it and had all of these incredible opportunities lined up. And so because it was so ultimately what you're talking about when you're talking about pursuing something as a profession is you're talking about your career. And what that means is your livelihood, whether or not you're able to pay your rent, what your quality of life is like in general. And so I just came to the conclusion that I did not want to be in a situation ever again where that could be taken away from me.
Yes.
Without any control over it whatsoever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I, that just sort of ties back to what you said about when you were deciding about whether or not to go to conservatory. It's you didn't want to... I don't know how at what you said it was like 16 or 17 when you were making that decision.
Yeah, 16, 17. Yeah, right around.
I don't know how you had the wisdom to think that far ahead.
Well, I think because I'd been bathed in kind of what I was saying about the flute. I mean, there's a ton of competition with the flute because so many people play it. And
boy, I really got that one wrong when I said that.
It's all right. It's all right. No, all good. I'm here to inform and enlighten. Something like that. I don't know. I had been bathed enough in the parts of doing music for a significant chunk of your life that I could see where it was going.
Yeah. How much were you playing back then? Like when you're at your most, how much a week? Like how many hours a week or a day were you practicing?
Oh gosh. I mean, I went once a week I'd go to a lesson. That was an hour. So that I didn't usually practice that day. I don't know. I played with lots of other flutists who were like, I practice 8 hours a day and they've got like carpal tunnel and all the rest of it. I never was that. I think max I would play 3 hours in a day, but a lot of times like, during the school week, that's not necessarily happening. But I also then played in band and I was in a youth symphony and I was in a flute choir. And so multiple times a week. I don't know, probably 4 or 5, something like that. I did a little bit, in middle school. So, still young. elementary school into middle school. I enjoyed it.
You definitely have some theater vibes.
Yeah, I did.
I hope you don't take that the wrong way.
No. I was friends with all the theater kids in high school, so they're wicked cool. We're good.
Sure.
We're good.
The theater people, certainly, if you have any experience performing, tend to just be better communicators.
I mean, you gotta.
Yeah.
You gotta do it.
Which is interesting because they give you your lines in theater.
Oh.
But yet somehow, I think it's because it's the connection. Like, I think that's what it is. It's like the ability to look at someone in the eyes like we've been doing for the past 45 minutes or so. And really, like, I mean, if you're doing it the right way anyway, you're listening and you're responding to them.
Yes.
Yeah, it was interesting. I've been meaning to ask you about that, about your theater history, but it sounds like just middle school. You didn't do it after that.
Yeah.
Have you ever played in any like musical bands for musical theater?
Not musical theater.
Yeah.
I've played with an orchestra that was like the orchestra for we did the Nutcracker Ballet in the area, and so I played in the pit, and that was really fun.
In Richmond?
Plus that was back up in Newark, and that's super fun. The flute parts in the Nutcracker are super fun.
Yeah, I bet.
So that's a fun one to play.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What other notable gigs like that have you done? Like
classical gigs?
Or just anything that stands out.
Oh gosh, I could tell you so many stories.
That's what we're here for.
I know. I mean, like a lot of stories. No, well, more recent memory is obviously stuff with Weekender, and we just laugh that anytime you go somewhere, there's going to be something weird that happens, and you have to learn to just roll with it and laugh about it. And here's the thing, like one time when we were playing outside on the floor and some sort of water source inside the brewery leaked and started like just flowing toward all our gear. And we were like, hi. So the whole water electricity situation,
not
good. Can somebody help us here? Just random stuff like that. One of us shows up at the wrong location.
Oh, sure.
We've done that. So how far away are you?
Just hope it's not the drummer and he hasn't already set up all of his stuff.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because that would be the worst case scenario.
That would super stink. Oh, man.
What about any fun random gigs outside of the Weekender world, like in your past?
Oh, my past.
Did you perform in New York City ever?
Yeah, for sure. And I just in general, there was one, this is so dorky, but there was the Mozart Concerto in G for flute, which was technically written for oboe, but then co-opted by the flute world, was my favorite piece ever to play. I had so much, and I played the concerto in front of for a concert for the youth symphony that I had been with for so long, and I had the conductor was like a grandpa to me. It was just a really special moment, and I got to wear a big floofy dress once again. Yeah. So bonus. So that night was really special to me because it was my favorite piece with folks that were with in a big auditorium that was filled, and just it was cool.
What was the venue?
It was, gosh, where was it? It was downtown in Stamford, Connecticut. I can't remember what it's called now.
What's the most magnificent venue you've performed in?
I played in Carnegie Hall once.
That'll do it.
That was pretty sweet because that's the thing, especially growing up outside New York, that you hear about Carnegie Hall and that joke about how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice.
Is that a joke?
Adorable. It's right up there with Live, Laugh, Love, I think.
I worked at the Red Eye Grill, which is a restaurant directly across the street from Carnegie Hall for like 6 months when I lived in New York. Yeah, that was an interesting experience.
I'm sure.
Got to see lots of celebs. MC Hammer was a regular.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Parachute pants and all?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It was hard to tell because he's sitting in a booth, but I imagine.
Why would you ever take those off?
Yeah, I mean, come on. That's awesome, Carnegie Hall. And so, what upcoming gigs are you looking forward to for Weekender?
Well, In April, which apparently is in a couple days.
Okay.
What is it happening April? April 12th, Triple Crossing Brewing. I saw your sign over there.
I got married at Triple Crossing.
No way.
Yeah.
Which one?
Fulton.
That's where we're playing.
Love it.
It's their 10th anniversary.
Okay, yeah.
So we're playing at their partay. We have another gig coming up on the 21st, which has not been announced yet. So it's going to be announced Friday. I don't know if I can announce it yet, but we're excited about that.
Great.
And then the 27th, we're playing at Bramley Park. So that'll be fun.
Awesome.
It's a late one, but it'll be fun.
Do you have any other bands that you're a part of, or is it just Weekender?
Yeah, no.
Sounds like they're keep you pretty busy.
Yeah, so I was playing at the band at our church. I just recently stopped. I've been playing for 12 years and just needed to.
It's a big commitment.
Yeah.
What's the church?
River Road Presbyterian.
Okay.
Yeah, so just kind of wanted to be in a place where I could just go to church and just kind of sit, instead of what is essentially performing. And then one of our former musicians with Weekender he and I started a duo on the side called Portico, and we just play covers, just of really anything. A lot of classic rock, but we play covers. And then
what are you playing?
Guitar and singing.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I just recently joined another band called One Fell Swoop, another cover band with some folks that we know from another band that Weekenders played with.
And you only do One Direction covers?
Well, that and then Nickelback.
Rock.
Yeah.
What a God.
I mean,
the audience for that must be like just splitting two.
Maybe some Hanson thrown in there if we.
All right, now I got me back.
Hey, yeah. Yeah, so, and I'm playing bass in One Fell Swoop. So
like electric bass?
Yeah, that's
So
all.
what instruments do you play?
Flute, obviously. I sing. That's an instrument, I suppose. Guitar, ukulele, crappy mandolin, keys, bass. There's more.
And you've learned all of those except for flute in your 30s?
Yeah, 30s and 40s. I'm 42, so I'm not. No.
We'll edit that out.
Dipping it. I'm 25.
That gives me hope, because my dream is to play the keyboard, play piano.
Do it, man.
As you can see, my hardest thing right now is space.
Space, yep.
It's like I don't know where to put it.
Fair. Just like mount it to the wall, and then you can learn to play at an angle.
I know. I've had just last night, literally, I was getting ready for today, and I was looking at this couch, and I was like, I like it, but it might have to go.
I know.
It's just so big.
That's what happens.
We have dreams of having our own studio space at some point in the nearish future.
Yeah.
So that could potentially be a place for it. Or actually what would happen is a lot of this stuff would move over there, so I would have more space. And I know I won't come to you for lessons because you don't like teaching music.
Sorry. Yeah, no, and it all goes back to stinking YouTube, man. I have learned every other instrument I've learned from YouTube videos. I mean, it's just like, and I tend to learn by song. So, if I'm playing the bass or something, we're going to play American Girl by Tom Petty. Let me find a YouTube of a guy on, in his basement who's making a video about how to play the bass part for American Girl.
Pretty much is all out there.
You can find anything. And, when I started ukulele, found a video that was learn 4 chords, play 10 songs. That's easy enough, so much through YouTube is basically how I've taught myself pretty much anything else. And having a musical background obviously helped. Like, I wasn't starting from scratch with this is a whole note.
But you can do that too on YouTube.
That's true.
No, but that is a good lesson for the business side of things, but also the art side of things is it's a bad lesson for people who teach music professionally in person. Right. But that is, I would imagine, most people nowadays that's probably how they're getting their audience if they're sort of in tune with the social media world, is doing those little lessons on individual songs.
Well, and what some of them will do is they'll release some videos, and then if you like become a member, you know, that sort of thing, then you get access to the whole catalog, for instance. Or you can get, you know, more in-depth voice lessons or whatever lessons if you subscribe. So that's, but some people do it just free. I guess ads now and monetizing.
Sure. Yeah, that's all very complicated, and it requires a lot of views to get there and subscribers and stuff like that. But
like a lot of work.
Yeah, it definitely is a lot of work, and I struggle with it. And it's something I would like to do. I just don't have time because I'm actually running the business and actually like making all the videos for people. But hopefully at some point we can get to the point where, you know, as they say, I am working on the business and not in the business. That's the goal for entrepreneurs.
I've never heard that.
Right now, I am very much in it.
I'm in all the business.
Yeah. Down to editing this podcast.
Yay! Dun, dun, dun.
Are you a podcast fan?
I love podcasts.
Yeah?
Yeah. I go through phases with the type of podcasts I listen to, and I'll like binge a bunch in that like category, and then I'll eventually move on to.
What are you hot on right now?
Cults.
Love it.
I've always been
Nexium.
yes,
I know all of them.
The host got out of Nexium.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated with cults. I could go into reasons why that I won't. But
we'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah, just for another more existential angst podcast.
Yeah.
But I've always been fascinated with cults, so I found a couple podcasts that I'm super digging right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any other podcasts that you listen to that are not so genre specific, that are like, that have been around for a while that you've listened to?
So, well, a couple of music ones. So Song Exploder does like 15 to 20 minute podcast about a certain song, like, you know, a popular
That's
song,
cool.
Talking to the musician who wrote it or performed it from the band or whatever, about how the song came to be. So from a songwriting perspective, I find that really interesting.
Very cool.
Love to know how a song that you hear, you know, lowrider, and you know, somebody breaks it down. And some other podcasts about kind of breaking down musical stuff. I like to know the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I definitely am guilty of that as well. More so when I was acting, from an acting perspective, would listen to a lot of that. Mm-hmm. Now I'm mostly current events and comedy.
Comedy's good.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of the stand-up comedy podcasts. I was just listening to Theo Vaughn before. You know Theo Vaughn? He's a very countrified comedian. He's very funny guy.
I probably do.
Yeah, he's got a mullet.
As one should.
So, coming to the end, and the question that I like to pose to people is, what advice do you have for young artists? And it can be anything to lead them anywhere.
Yeah. I guess it goes back to some of the sort of exploration piece. And I stole this phrase from someone else, but follow the music. It's just let your music be what gives you joy and what lets you express yourself, the therapy that you need for it, whatever it might be. Just let it be that, and it will unwind. You know, you'll see where, art, it's like almost spiritual. So it's like it's going to kind of follow a path that you can take measures to control somewhat, right? You can practice, or whatever. But if global circumstances change, and so I think just having a loose grip on it and letting music kind of just take you where you will. I've made some of the coolest connections in my life through musical opportunities. That I got to meet the Dunkin' Donuts guy once.
Okay.
You're not from New
No,
England.
I remember.
Are you?
The
Okay,
Dunkin' Donuts commercials back
time
in
to
the
make
day.
the donuts.
Yeah.
Or now they're Dunkin' or whatever.
Yeah.
Got to meet him after an orchestra piece I was playing. Yeah, that was a highlight of my life.
It's going to inspire.
I grew up in New England.
It's going to be.
They're everywhere.
That's the clip. That's the clip we're going to take from this podcast.
Please do. Make the thumbnail like that.
Follow your passion and you too can meet the Dunkin' Donut Man.
That's not a selling point. Oh, wait, he's dead. Womp womp.
Oh, no.
It's not time to make the donut.
That's all right. You can meet, I don't know, Justin Long, who was the Apple guy for...
Oh, yeah.
If someone were to come to you, I've had adults approach me and be like, my kid wants to go into theater or acting. What advice do you have for them? So I'll turn that to you in terms of music. If somebody's young person is thinking about pursuing it for college, let's just start there. If they're thinking of pursuing it for college, what would your advice be?
Oh, okay. I was thinking of little people's, big people's.
Yeah, let's
high
start.
school,
Certainly
college.
with little people, I feel like the advice would be if it makes them happy and like it can't hurt.
It's so I didn't start until I was 9, but I definitely, when I was teaching flute lessons, I taught kids who were younger than that, who started early for whatever reason. And by the time I picked it up and how excited I was and how much I loved music, the idea of like not wanting to practice wasn't something that I had considered. And then you start being a music teacher and you find out that not all your students have practiced from the last time. So I don't know. I feel less qualified to kind of how to let that unfold when they're little, because I didn't have that experience. I'd love to say, just let them, explore. And if that works, great. Don't force them. But at sometimes developing that discipline is good. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Discipline, schmissipin.
Discipline is generally a good thing.
Darn it.
Like, too much of anything, though, too much discipline is not good.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the case with anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like water. If you drink more than that jug, you would die.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Not just that.
No, you're right. You're right.
I think you have to drink like 2 gallons or something crazy. But then as far as the sort of high school, college transition, I think folks will know. Like, I could come up with the reasons why I should or shouldn't, and there was a valid argument more, I would say, in favor of go ahead and pursue it. But just my gut just said, nah, that's not where we're going. It goes back to the follow the music thing. I mean, the folks that went to conservatory that I did, know of, I mean, they were gung-ho. Yeah. That was their life. That was what they did. It wasn't, I don't think, not pursuing the most advanced part of their trajectory that they wouldn't think to do anything other than that. Yeah. You could see that straight arrow.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So I'm going to sum up for you.
Yeah.
The 2 catchphrases that I think are both very valuable. Loosen your grip.
Yep.
And follow your gut.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I mean, and I follow my gut, and I'm more of a, I'm not like as much of a practical gal, but so it comes easy to me to say, just let it unfold. But you can weigh the facts about a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
But if your gut says do it or don't do it, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's really important. Yeah. So also all much more with music for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's great. And the other lesson from the beginning of the podcast is it's not always good to mix business with pleasure. In this case, business with passion, I suppose.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there have to be a lot of things intersecting there. Yeah. And that's why I'm like amazed and impressed by folks who are making music for a living. Yeah. Because that's hard stuff. And I imagine that there are times where you might resent music because you're burnt out, or you might... but
you lose the joy from it.
Right. I would worry about that, but obviously that's working for a lot of people, and that's amazing because, we need that. So I think that's pretty cool. For me, mixing that would be hard. Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm kind of like all in with whatever I'm doing. And so, yeah, I'm not going to, I'm going to be all,
being all in with, that definitely makes sense. If you're going to do anything, you got to be all in.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the capacity to do what it takes to make it in the music industry, which, gee, I mean, not many industries that are harder to make it in than that one.
Don't know how people do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly.
Well, great. Follow your gut, loosen your grip. What was it? What was the third one from the beginning of the episode? We got it. People will hear it.
Yeah, they'll know. They can rewind.
Don't mix business and pleasure.
Yeah, maybe
unless it is like you have to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the folks who they will feel compelled.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've never felt such compulsion.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yep.
But you are, I would say, thriving as an artist.
Yeah, and I feel really good about where it sits in my life. It's something that my family loves. I have a very supportive husband who's just like, follow the rope, do what you got to do to, have things unfold. And it's a really good balance for me for work. It's my happiest place. And, in terms of what I can experience around me and stuff.
LA Foley Shenk, ladies and gentlemen.
I do. What is up? I don't know what I was going to say before that.
That was great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. This was super fun.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.